Welcome back to another video. How's it going? Hope you're having a good day. In the last video, we did a ranking of the Scream franchise, and I had a good time making that video. Love talking about horror movies. And with the new Halloween coming out this October, Halloween Ends, I figured it'd be nice to sit down and maybe talk about the Halloween franchise. I was deciding how I would go about, discussing it, and I thought maybe doing a tier ranking would be the best. Would be pretty fun, and just talk about all the movies and rank them in order of how I like them and how I hate some of them. But we do have all the movies here, all the theatrical releases, all the way from Halloween 1 up until Halloween Kills that just came out last year. So without further ado, we will get into this fucking tier list ranking, and I hope you enjoy. I like holding the mic, makes me feel like I'm like a old radio broadcaster or something. But anyways, on this tier list, we're going to start off with Halloween H2O. We have 5 categories here that these movies can fall into. We have GOAT, of course, the greatest of all time. There's probably only going to be like 1, maybe 2 on there. Then we have Fire, just a good all-around movie, but it's not the greatest of all time, of course. And then you got It's Aight, it's just something that when you're talking about with your friends, you're like, oh yeah, that Halloween movie, It's Aight. I like it pretty well. And beneath It's Aight, we have Ass, just a Halloween movie that is ass. It's not the worst, but it's just ass. You just don't really want to watch it that much. And then, of course, at the very bottom, we have Straight Dog Shit. This is the Halloween movies that are just straight up dog shit. You don't want to ever watch them again. You saw them once, and that did you. But that's our 5 categories there. So we'll get started with H2O, which of course is a fire movie. Halloween H2O is badass. 20 years after the first, Jamie Lee Curtis comes back. It's awesome. It's more modern. They use a lot of tropes. It's loosely based on Scream. Like, they use a lot of concepts from Scream in this. You got a teen cast, a teen soundtrack. It's meta, things like that. But Laurie Strode has went incognito under the name Tate, fucking something Tate. Oh yeah, it's Carrie Tate, and she is the head mistress at some sort of boarding school or some sort of school in California. She left Laurie Strode life behind and moved on to try to escape from the past and from her brother and things like that. But 20 years after the original, Michael comes back, tracks her down, and has a good damn time killing some people at the college. The ending of this movie is pretty damn fire. Laurie Strode and Michael, they get the face off. She ends up cutting his head off, at least you think, until they take that away, and in Halloween Resurrection, of course. You just can't kill Michael Myers on camera. Maybe in Halloween Ends, but we'll have to see about that. But overall, H2O, badass movie, definitely top tier. Just not the greatest of all time, but definitely something I aim to watch every year for Halloween. Looks like up next on the tier list, we do have the OG Halloween 1978. Of course, this movie is going up to GOAT status. This movie is one of the greatest horror movies of all time. Probably the best Halloween movie of all time. Not even probably. It's definitely the best Halloween movie of all time. Everything about this movie is just badass. It was made on such a low budget, but was able to just scare audiences so much with just minuscule amounts of blood. They just used a lot of strategic angles and using Michael's mask in the background to kind of just fade in to the camera. It's all awesome. The movie, created by John Carpenter, has Laurie Strode in it, which is Jamie Lee Curtis, and it has her 2 friends in it, Annie and Linda. And they pretty much are just, Laurie is babysitting on Halloween night, the boogeyman, aka Michael Myers. He has no reason to want to go after her. He just decides, that's the girl I am gonna go kill. I don't know why I want to, but I just want to go kill her for no reason. He torments them throughout the night, kills her friends, chases after her. At the end, she does step up as a badass. She stabs him in the eye with a coat hanger, and has Dr. Loomis come in and shoot him 6 times off of the balcony.
I shot him 6 times. I shot him in the heart. Can't have gotten very far. Come on. I shot him 6 times.
And overall, there's not much I can say about this movie that hasn't been said. This movie is fucking awesome. If you haven't seen it, what the fuck are you doing? Halloween 1978 is amazing, and it's the greatest movie in this franchise for sure. This movie is definitely, I mean, you can see all the sequels it spawned. Even 40 years later, after this movie came out, we're having Halloween sequels based on the original. Every year, this is a movie I watch probably 2-3 times, getting closer to Halloween and things. But I'll stop rambling about how fire this movie is, and we'll get on to the next one. So up next on the tier list, it looks like we have the original Halloween 2 from 1981. This movie is fucking awesome. For me personally, I'm probably going to have to throw it up at GOAT status. It is just one of the greatest of all time. This movie is a great sequel to the first one. It takes place literally a second after the first one ends, and watching them back to back is just a great double feature. It really adds to the story. There are some boring parts in this movie. You're just sitting at the hospital, seeing what the fucking nurses are up to and shit like that. But other than that, it's badass. Michael, more violent in this movie. Although he's played by a different actor, they use the same exact mask, and it ends up working out really well. There's a lot more violence in this movie compared to the first one, just being a couple of stabs and some strangulation. And some strangle, all that kind of shit. But in this one, I mean, he fucking hits a dude in the back of the head with a hammer. I mean, he dunks a lady's face in the fucking hot tub until her face skin melts off. This movie is badass. The ending of this was supposed to kill Michael Myers, but of course they got, money hungry, did so good. Michael has to come back, so they had to bring him back in part 4. But everything about this movie is just a great subsidiary of the first. They go so well together that it's almost like watching the same movie. Not like the same as like the content, but like the cinematography and things like that on these movies are so similar. It's almost just like Halloween .5 or something like that. Like, it's just an extended version of the first one, and watching these together, perfect pair. Definitely something I watch every year. The second one I look forward to watching just as much as the first one because of how fucking awesome it is. But with those two being said, those are probably going to be the only two on GOAT status. Just those two movies are almost untouchable for how good they are. But we'll move on to the next. Don't worry, we do have some fucking shitty stinkers in this list somewhere. So we'll get onto the list and see if we can maybe find one that goes into straight dog shit. So it looks like next up on the tier list, we're working with Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. This movie, I'm kind of debating between putting it in It's Aight and Ass. I'm almost going to have to say that this movie is Aight. It's not badass. I mean, it's pretty bad, but it stays in vein to the original Halloween movies. I mean, when you watch this movie, you feel like it sort of is a Halloween movie, but there are a few things that are just a little goofy about this movie that could have been omitted from the final draft of the script or whatever. But to start off, Michael's mask in this movie is straight fucked. He wears this mask that he doesn't tuck into his collar, so it kind of hangs down. He's got like a long, droopy fucking face. His eyes are so big, and his hair, he just looks like an alien. And he's not that intimidating in this movie. There's one part where he fucking cries, and that's kind of like, what the fuck. But besides the point, there are some good things about this movie. Dr. Loomis in this one is pretty much like the craziest, like off the chain Loomis that you're gonna get. I mean, you think he's gonna sacrifice Jamie to get to Michael, but he uses that as a ploy to lead him into a trap and then beats the fuck out of him until he has a heart attack. So Dr. Loomis in this one, he's pretty badass. Jamie Lloyd coming back in this movie, also pretty good. In the fourth one, she's probably a little bit stronger. In this one, she doesn't really talk for half of the fucking movie until she eventually decides to speak just when the movie needs her to speak. But in this one, she's got some sort of telepathic connection to Michael. So when he kills or when he's like walking and getting closer to her, she can see it and feel it. It's kind of weird. That's one thing about this movie I don't really like too much. It's not the worst movie in the franchise by far. There are some fucking ass ones in here that are just unwatchable to me. But this one, it falls about middle of the list. I don't skip it every year. It's just something when it comes on, I don't mind to just keep it in the background and do something else while it's on, just because I've seen it enough to know that I'm not missing much. Another part I forgot to mention in this movie, there's a character that is named Tina, who is fucking annoying, probably the worst character in the franchise. She just makes noises and just yells and just is annoying. And when Jamie needs her, she just leaves him or leaves her to go and like get some sex with some guy, and it's just kind of fucked through the whole movie. They kill Rachel off way too soon. If they were gonna kill her at all, maybe at the end, but they definitely should have kept Rachel, because in part 4 Rachel was just awesome, and for her to just get killed off unceremoniously with a pair of scissors in the first fucking 30 minutes of the movie is just pointless to her character. One more thing I kind of want to shit on real quick on this movie. There are a pair of cops that are like a buddy cop duo, and like when they're on screen, they always have some like doink a doink a doink like fucking clown music behind them. I'll play a clip so that you can understand what I'm talking about.
Trying to find that out.
All clear.
Nothing above, nothing below.
What about Max?
But it's fucking dog shit, those cops at least. The movie overall, I know I'm ragging on it a lot, but it's a pretty decent movie. Especially with Dr. Loomis carrying the torch. It is pretty good, but overall it falls about middle of the list, and I'll stop dog shitting on this movie and we'll get on to the next one. So it looks like next up on the tier list we're gonna have Halloween 2018. This movie is fucking awesome. I'm gonna probably have to throw it up here on fire. I like this movie quite a bit. It's 40 years after the first one versus 20 years after the first one in H2O. They do this kind of a lot. They wait a long time until they can talk Jamie Lee Curtis into coming back to just do one more movie. So this was the 40th year anniversary movie on here, and this one, it's definitely the best Halloween movie that's probably come out since like the 90s. It's just the way they handle everything with Michael and with Laurie, it works out really well. Laurie Strode, everything in the first movie had happened, but everything else beyond then was written out. So it just takes the first one into consideration, and 40 years after that, she's just been traumatized, tormented her entire life. Had some failed divorces, or failed marriages, things like that. So she lives her whole life on edge. She pushes away her family because they all think she's just crazy. Until eventually, 40 years later, Michael does end up getting out of Smith's Grove, coming back and wreaking havoc on Haddonfield. This one, Michael is fucking mad. Like, he's been locked up for 40 years, and he's got a lot to fucking show for it, because he fucked some people up in this movie pretty damn bad. I mean, he like smashes a guy's jaw all the way open to like where his jaw's like down here and his teeth are everywhere. He fucking gets a kid impaled through like the throat out the mouth with like a wrought iron fence. I mean, he is just pissed off in this movie. But overall, it's super good. I like the addition of the cast that they brought in with Allison and with her friends. Her friends in this movie, Miles Robbins and the babysitter character, I forgot her name, but they're really good. Like, for just being in a little bit of the movie, you feel really sad when they die because they're such good characters and they're really fleshed out well. Especially the babysitter's relationship with the kid Julian, the nasty ass toenail kid. Everything in this movie is super good. I was not disappointed by it at all. I went and seen it in theaters, I think 3 or 4 times. But it is a good feature to watch after you watch the first one, you watch 18. They look completely different. They feel like 2 separate movies, but they almost feel like the same movie with all the characters and things like that. There are a couple things in here I didn't really like too well. Of course, you have Dr. Sartain coming in to kind of fill in the Loomis position. To me, you just can't really fill in a Loomis position as hard as you try to. Donald Pleasance as Dr. Loomis is just untouchable character, and nobody can really come close to what he's done in this franchise. But Sartain, luckily, gets fucked up in this movie at the end. You don't really have to see much of him going on in the sequels. But he gets his head stomped by Michael.
Say something.
It's a gnarly kill. But the granddaughter Allison in this movie, she is a good new character to kind of carry on the torch after everything. You know, she's not necessarily the lead. Everybody gets some good screen time in here, but she is like the new final girl Laurie type of girl, and she's really innocent in things. And then once Michael Myers is thrown into the mix, she really can show up how badass she can pretty much be. But everything about here in this movie with the ending, that's pretty dope too. You have fucking Laurie and Michael facing off. Laurie fucking blows Michael's fingers off with a shotgun and then fucking locks him in a fire trap basement that fucking incinerates his ass. So this movie definitely kick ass, definitely fire, literally fire at the end. So that's why I'm putting this one here at the top of the fire list, and we will move on to the next movie. So it looks like next up on the list, we're going to have a Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. So this one is a pretty damn good movie. You know, after the third movie where they didn't have Michael in it, they wanted to try to do an anthology. It kind of flopped, so they were like, shit, we need to, bring back Michael if we want to save this franchise. So they bring him back in this movie, and it's also a really good fucking movie. I'm going to have to probably throw it up here in fire. This movie here, it's a lot different than the previous two, Halloween 1 and 2 before it. There is no Laurie Strode. Instead, you're following her daughter, Jamie. In this timeline, Laurie had died in some sort of car accident. But Jamie is just a little girl. She does a good job of carrying the movie forward. Everything here at the beginning of the movie, where Michael shows up in her bedroom and she's like in a bad dream, and he's like teleporting himself. Like, there's like 3 or 4 of him in her bedroom. That scene's pretty awesome. Another character, Rachel, which is Jamie's foster sister, she's really good as well. They had some good characters that were able to keep carrying on the torch of Jamie Lee Curtis's performance in the first two. Dr. Loomis returns in this one as well. He's in actually quite a few of them. I believe Dr. Loomis, he's in part 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. And then sadly, he passed away after 6. So I'm sure he would have done more. I believe he stated that he would do 100 more if he was able to. But anyways, Halloween 4, Michael, after the events of Halloween 2, when he got lit on fire in the hospital, he's been bandaged up in a coma for about 10 years. He's getting transported from one facility to another. When he's in the ambulance, the ambulance people are talking about how he has one surviving relative, Jamie, and then that somehow awakens something in Michael that makes him fuck up the ambulance drivers and escape. This movie has a really good scope of how Haddonfield is like a smaller town, but is able to have the community members rally together to try to fight off Michael. I mean, in this one, he's able to cut the power to the entire town. He's able to start a mob. But the ending in this movie as well, whenever everyone corners him, the police force, the mob, the townspeople, they all fuck his ass up and blow his ass into a fucking well, and he just falls down a huge hole, and they throw some dynamite in that bitch, and that part's fucking awesome. But everything about Halloween 4 is pretty damn dope. I don't have many bad things to say about this movie. Pretty much everything in this one's pretty good. It doesn't start really getting too wonky until about Halloween 5 and onward. After that, you start seeing some inconsistencies in quality and things. But overall, Halloween 4, definitely a fire movie, and that's why it belongs in the second tier there. But we'll get on to the next Halloween movie and see how that one ranks on. Next up on the list, we're going to have Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. This movie had a lot of production issues. The two sides just couldn't really agree on much, but what we got in the end in the theatrical release was pretty good. It was decent, so I'm going to have to probably throw this one in its height. This is a movie that I do enjoy. Michael's pretty badass in this movie. There are just a lot of inconsistencies in here and a lot of confusing things that really just calls for a somewhat frustrating viewing experience sometimes. And really, to get the full effect of this movie, you kind of have to watch it twice. One in the theatrical cut and one in the director/producer's cut. With the theatrical release, this movie, it follows yet another one of Michael Myers' relatives that we hadn't heard about before. But she has a son named Danny, and these three movies, Halloween 4, 5, and 6, they're known as the Thorn Trilogy. They start to introduce subtle Thorn cult references in 4 and 5. Mainly 5 is when it really picks up, but 6 really takes on the reins of the Cult of Thorn or Curse of Thorn, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of cult aspects in this movie about how Michael Myers kills because of the cult that kind of guides him to kill and things. It's sort of weird because in part 4, most of the town rallied up to kick his ass, but in part 6, most of the townspeople are cult members that rally up and they are trying to get Michael to have sex with his niece Jamie, that was in 4 and 5, to impregnate her and have his kid so that he can kill the kid. It's very strange. But in this one, they didn't bring back Jamie Lloyd, sadly, to play. I don't know if they had some contract issues or not, but they kind of killed Jamie off in the first 10 minutes of the movie. And if you watch the producer's cut, she lasts a little bit longer, but she's not really in the movie. But they kill her off, and then you just follow up some people that are somewhat uninteresting. Tommy Doyle from the first one returns, but it's Paul Rudd that plays him, which is pretty interesting to see Paul Rudd in his first role in this movie. But with the cult and things like that, that's where I kind of get lost on here. I don't necessarily hate this movie, but there are just some things about it that are like, what the fuck were you thinking? But as I mentioned earlier in the video, Dr. Loomis is back in this movie. This was his final movie that he was in. He sadly passed away before they were even able to do reshoots on the movie. But he still does a really good job in this movie for what he's given. You know, he's much older. You can tell that he's, kind of losing his voice a little bit. He's got a really frail voice. But he comes back, does awesome in the movie still. With the producer's cut versus the theatrical cut, there's some huge differences. For one, the ending, like the last 20 to 30 minutes of the movie is completely different with the producer and the theatrical cut. The theatrical cut focuses a lot more on, let's make this more of a standard Halloween movie. We're trying to cut some of the cult stuff out. We'll make it more gory and things like that. The producer's cut focuses more on let's get the cult aspect in here. We'll have a lot more cult things. We'll have a lot more Dr. Loomis. We'll tame down the kills to make it more in line with the first movie. And the two sides really couldn't come to an agreement, so that's why there were two movies spawned pretty much out of this one. But overall, middle of the road, this movie is. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. But it's something that I don't mind to watch. When I'm doing a Halloween marathon, there are a couple on here that I would just skip just because they're pointless to watch. But this isn't one of them. That's why I'd say it falls in the its eye category. But we'll get on to the remaining movies on this list and see what we can do with them. So it looks like next up on the list, we're going to have the newest movie in this franchise, known as Halloween Kills. It's part of the trilogy with Halloween 2018, Halloween Kills, and the upcoming Halloween Ends this October. This movie, it definitely had a lot to live up for. They said this is going to be the most fucked Michael Myers ever. He's going to be off the chain. He's going to fuck up some shit, and it's going to be very, very fucked. And they definitely fucking answered to that call. This movie is fire to me. I like it pretty damn well. This one is definitely like Michael was pretty fucking mad in the first movie in Halloween 2018, but in Halloween Kills, like he is fucking infuriated, bro. Like it picks up where the last one left off. You know, he's in the basement, he's getting lit on fire. Laurie Strode's going to the hospital. You know, the fire department shows up. They see Michael in there. They try to save him. Michael just fucking obliterates the entire fucking fire department. Like, he just fucks up like 20 people. It's fucking insane. Michael in this movie is the most pissed off he has ever probably been. I mean, he does not go easy on his fucking victims in this movie. I mean, there's an old man that he decides to just keep stabbing him like 40 fucking times with different knives, and it makes him look like a porcupine. Like, it's fucked. But overall, this one is a good sequel to 2018. It's a lot more paced differently. This one's a lot more violent. Like, the first one was more of a love letter to the first movie in 1978, and this one is more like, this is the fucking ultimate slasher movie. Like, we're gonna fuck up some shit, and they definitely fuck up some shit in this one. Laurie Strode, for most of the movie, she's hospitalized. Pretty much all the movie. She gets a little bit of time where she's not, but in this one, she kind of takes a back seat, you know, to let other people get some more screen time and things. She'll be back in Halloween Ends to finish off things with Michael. But in Halloween Kills, it follows a lot of the town of Haddonfield. This one is the main character in this one. I would have to say is probably just the town of Haddonfield itself. There's an angry mob that started. They all, they see Michael Myers escape on the TV, and they're like, you know what, fuck this. He's haunted our town for 40 years. We're gonna put an end to this shit. Fucking evil dies tonight, which is really fucking annoying. That's one thing I dislike about the movie, is Evil Dies Tonight, how fucking annoying it is. But the angry mob, they all accumulate. They end up killing a different escape patient that they mistake for Michael Myers. Well, they don't necessarily kill him, but they lead him to kill himself, sadly. But at the end of the movie, the mob, they track down Michael. They all take some turns wailing the fuck out of him. But Michael stands the fuck up, and he fucking, again, just destroys like fucking 10 to 20 people, and the fucking mob just claps all their fucking cheeks. He is fucking unstoppable in this movie. The ending of this one, pretty fucking cool. You think everything's nice, Michael, you think he's escaped into the night once again, and he'll be back later. But instead, he ends up fucking killing Karen, which is in this franchise, or in this series of Halloween movies, is Jamie Lee Curtis's daughter. So the next one in Halloween Ends is going to pick up about 4 years after this one, and Michael's going to come back, and they're going to fucking end this one once and for all. Either Jamie Lee Curtis is dying or Michael's dying, but either way, somebody's getting fucked up in Halloween Ends. But overall, this movie definitely fire, definitely lived up to the sequel, Halloween 18, which was also really good. But I'll stop fucking talking about this movie and how awesome it is. If you haven't seen Halloween Kills, and you want to see a movie where Michael Myers just fucks up shit, go watch this one, because you won't be disappointed whenever he does fuck up some shit. But it looks like we have Halloween Resurrection up next, so we'll go ahead and get on to the next movie. So next up on the tier list, we're going to have Halloween Resurrection. Now this movie is fucking straight dog shit. Okay? This movie is fucked. Everything about it, it does not fall in line with the remainder Halloween movies. It looks different, it feels different. They kill Laurie Strode off at the fucking beginning of the movie within like 10 or 15 minutes. Busta Rhymes is in this movie. He's like, his name's Freddy, and he just fucking like knows kung fu, and he fucking kicks Michael Myers' ass with his kung fu, which is funny, but it's not good. Like, this whole movie, it takes place after H2O. Laurie Strode cut off Michael's head, so she thought, but she actually cut off a paramedic's head that Michael had crushed his throat and he wasn't able to speak, so she cut his head off thinking it was Michael. Michael escapes into the night.
She decapitated a man.
After that, you just follow a cast of characters that are just pretty much fucked. I mean, they're just stereotypical. They're you know, they're good actors or whatever. But in the Halloween movie, this is just fucked. But pretty much, Freddy, which is Busta Rhymes' character, he's the producer over a show called Dangertainment, which is like a reality show where they give all the people cameras, they put them in haunted locations and have them record shit, and then they just try to get a reaction out of them and have them try to unearth the mystery of whatever location they're at. But in this specific case, they're at the Myers house, so they give them all cameras. They, they're like, go in there, do some exploring, we'll keep you on camera. And they're under the assumption that it's all fake, it's for TV, until the real Michael Myers does show up at his house and starts fucking killing them all off. A couple parts about this movie that are fucked. Busta Rhymes, there's a part where he dresses up as Michael Myers, and he comes face to face with the Michael Myers, and he kind of just taunts him. He's like, "You motherfucker, I told you I'm Michael Myers, you get the fuck out of here." And then Michael, instead of like killing him, just like obeys him and just like turns around and walks away.
You need to get the hell out of here. Go on, scoot, skedaddle. Get the fuck out of Dodge.
Kind of stupid. Another thing about this movie, when you look it up online, all of these movies are categorized under a horror movie. This one is categorized under a horror comedy, which it's not even funny. So I get why they call it a comedy because of the things they're going for, but it's really not that funny. Overall, this movie is just straight dog shit. I watched it a couple times. There's not really a need to watch it anymore unless you really just want to get that closure of the Laurie Strode timeline from H2O to this one. Maybe watch the first 15 minutes, but then after that, there's no point really watching it. And in my own head canon, I don't really like to count this one because like her cutting off Michael's head in H2O is just a fucking badass ending, so we'll just keep it at that. But overall, this movie, dog shit. Not that many good things about it. There's a couple of decent kills. Some of them look pretty fake. But at the end, whenever Busta Rhymes kicks Michael Myers' ass with karate, that pretty much just fucking it ends it for me.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
Not really interested in watching it again, but if I had some friends that had never seen it, I might throw it on just to be like, dude, you need to watch this fucking movie. But other than that, straight dog shit, and I'll probably never watch it again. But we'll get on to the next movies. Got a couple decent ones here, but we'll see what we can do with them on this list. So next up on the list, we're gonna have fucking Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I can already tell you straight off the grip, this movie is straight dog shit. Worse than Resurrection, in fact. This movie, it just has that Rob Zombie flair on it where he just sprinkles his seasoning of redneck shittery. This movie, nowhere near as good as the first Rob Zombie Halloween, which in itself isn't really that good. But this one, it just fucks all the characters that they built in the first movie. Laurie Strode in the first one, just an innocent teen girl, really sweet, nice, you want her to live. In this movie, she just turns into some like grungy, like dirty, like I hate the world and everything. Like I don't know. I get it. Maybe if I went through that kind of trauma, something like that may happen to me. But she has an entire personality and like life change based on something that happened to her in the last movie. But Dr. Loomis in this movie, played by Malcolm McDowell, a complete shit ass. He is nowhere near as nice as Dr. Loomis, played by Malcolm McDowell in the first one. He's so much more likable in that one, but in this one, he's just a money-hungry dick. All he wants is to fucking make money off the Michael Myers story, but doesn't really believe that Michael Myers is still out there. He believes Michael Myers is dead. But Michael comes back, fucking kills some rednecks, You know, he hallucinates this whole movie that his dead mom from the first one is like walking around with a white horse, and he sees himself as a child, and I don't know, it's just straight fuck. They gave Rob Zombie complete creative control over this movie, and he fucking took it and ran with it, and he just made it definitely his own kind of movie. There are some people that really fucking like this movie, and there are some people that really fucking hate this movie, but there's not really an in-between. This one, for me, I watched it, you know, a couple of times. I have no need to really ever watch it again. If I'm gonna watch a dog shit Halloween movie, I'll probably watch Resurrection over this one, just because, like, Resurrection is still, like, campy. Like, this movie is, like, makes you uncomfortable. It's, all the Rob Zombie, the Rob Zombie isms that he throws in there, they're just fucked. You can really tell that, you know, he purposefully wanted to just fuck this franchise. I don't know if maybe he thought in his head, like, oh, this is great, you know, or if he thought, like, oh, fuck this franchise, I'm just gonna shit on a movie real quick, but this movie is fucking shitty. All except the first 20 to 30 minutes, maybe more like 20 minutes. That's fucking awesome. There's a scene where Michael is in the hospital with Laurie, and it's kind of like a retread of Halloween 2 from 1981 in the hospital. He fucks up some nurse bad as hell, stabs her a shit ton. He's definitely pissed off in this movie as well. In the Rob Zombie ones, that at that point was the most pissed off he had ever been, but up until the new 18 and Halloween Kills, he's probably more pissed off than those. But beginning of this one, it's all a dream sequence where Laurie's just dreaming that she's in the hospital and he comes after her. But even for a dream sequence, that part is definitely the best part in the movie. If they would have kept that same pacing and that same style throughout the rest of the movie, this one would probably be a lot higher on the list, but everything after that 20 minutes at the beginning, just straight dog shit, not really worth watching. But if you haven't seen it, maybe check it out just so you can experience it for yourself, but after you watch it once, you don't really have a reason to return to it, but that's kind of why this one's straight dog shit, and we'll move on to the last couple movies here and see where they fall on the list. Rob Zombie's Halloween 1. And this one is not as bad as Halloween 2. For me, this movie is just ass. Like, there are a few things in this movie that make you just really wonder, like, why the fuck did you need to include that in there? For starters, they have an entire 30 to 40 minute beginning that is like a backstory of Michael Myers as a kid. You know, he was raised in a shitty house with a shitty stepdad or / real dad. I don't really know if Ronnie is his real dad or not, but his dad's a piece of shit.
Jesus Christ, Ronnie, you know I have to fucking work tonight. Somebody around here has got to make some money.
I'm all broken up here, bitch. I can't work.
Yeah, and whose fault is that?
Fuck
Oh my God, you're pathetic.
You know that new waitress over at the Bingo Lounge? She can give me the freaky eye.
Oh, the whore with the big tits hanging down to her knees?
Maybe I'll choke the chicken, purge my snorkel all over them flappy ass tits.
Good, we'll have a good fucking time.
I will.
I hope she likes cripples.
Bitch, I will crawl over there and I will skull fuck the shit out of you.
Oh, I'll get the crutches for you.
Verbally abusive to his family. His mom, you know, nothing wrong with it, but his mom's a stripper. His sister is a slut. The only thing he has going for him is the little baby that stays with him. He calls her Boo, but she grows up to be Laurie Strode. But the beginning sequence, you know, it shows Michael. He kills animals. I don't know. He gets bullied at school, and it tries to craft like an idea of like, yeah, this would make a serial killer, but the whole Halloween is based on Michael does what he does because he just does it. There's no reason why he does it. There's no reason why he snapped on Halloween night 1978 and killed his sister. He just did it. This movie tries to explain why he did it, but it's not that good. Trying to explain why he did it. But even moving on past the beginning, most of the movie is, you know, like the last half of the movie is just Halloween 1978 recreated, modern, with more violence and more Rob Zombie sprinkles on there. But One big complaint I think I have on this movie, the sequence where Michael escapes from prison. In the theatrical release, it's pretty badass. He fucks up some prison guards, kills them all, and then fucks up Danny Trejo and gets out. In the DVD release, or the producer's cut, on the other hand, unnecessarily, Rob Zombie just has to throw in, like, rape scenes. And Michael gets out of prison, or out of the Smith's Grove Sanitarium in this one, by having 2 guards come in his room, rape a girl. So he kills the 2 guards that raped the girl, and then escapes. And it's like, why the fuck did you need to include that in there? And it just, like, lingers on the rape scene for, like, much too long, to where you're like, okay. Like, Rob Zombie, most people know how to tell, not show, but he really has to show to make a point. Like, he really wants you to be uncomfortable or something. But that part, fucking awful. There are some good kills in this movie, for sure. He's really violent in this one. Like in the original one, he stabs a couple people, strangles a couple people. And this one, when he does stab somebody, I mean, there's fucking blood everywhere. He beats the fuck out of somebody with a baseball bat. Another thing I can kind of wrap in this movie for that I don't really like too well, Jamie Lloyd, which is Danielle Harris, she was played in the 4th and 5th movie as just a little girl, and in this movie, Rob Zombie has to bring her back, and of course he has to make her like have sex and like get naked, and it's like, I just feel uncomfortable from watching Halloween 4 and 5 and then going to this one and seeing that little girl like grown up and doing all this shit that's unnecessary. She didn't have to be naked, but he just wanted her to be because it's Rob Zombie. I'm not shitting on Rob Zombie entirely. Like, there are some Rob Zombie movies I like, but like, even talking like the Firefly trilogy with like Devil's Rejects, like there's unnecessary rape scenes in that movie. There's unnecessary rape scenes in House of a Thousand Corpses. It's just like, what is with rape scenes? I don't understand. But another thing that Rob Zombie does in Halloween 1 and 2 of his movies, more the first one, but he always has to cast his wife in the movie, and she always has to do like some sort of like slutty thing. Like, it's like he gets off to like knowing that like she's on camera or something. I don't know. In Halloween 1, she's a stripper. She has an extended stripper scene that isn't really necessary, like many things in these movies, but it's not the worst. Of course, there are some below it. I would rather watch Rob Zombie's Halloween than Resurrection or Halloween 2, but when I do watch Halloween, I prefer the theatrical release just due to the non-rape scene, and the theatrical release when he escapes is just so much more badass anyways. Might as well watch that one. But yeah, overall, it's definitely not the worst, but it is far from the best in the franchise, and I'm sure most of the people have seen Rob Zombie's Halloween. If you haven't, it is worth a watch, just so you can kind of experience a different angle of Michael Myers, but you can form your own opinion on it, but it just doesn't stick with me in the long run. That's one that, when I do watch the Halloween franchise, I usually watch like 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, H2O, and, 18 and Kills now. That's kind of my list. I kind of skip around a few. I skip the Resurrection, I skip Rob Zombies, and I do sometimes skip the next movie that we're going to throw on this tier list, Halloween 3. We'll get into that one though. It's pretty good. I'll stop rapping on Halloween, Rob Zombie, and we'll move on to this last movie on the list and get it in its spot. So the final movie on this tier list is going to be Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. This movie gets shit on so much, unnecessarily. The only reason it gets shit on is because they're like, oh, Halloween with no Michael? Fuck that movie. It can't be good. But after Halloween 2, John Carpenter was done with Michael. He wanted to move on, so he decided to, possibly make an anthology series. Halloween 4 would be a new story, Halloween 5, and so on. Would just be new stories based around the holiday of Halloween. This one, experimental, tried some things. If this movie was just called Season of the Witch and didn't have Halloween 3 as the main title, I believe it would have succeeded a lot more. People just don't really give this one a chance much because it just doesn't have Michael in it, but it does have a guy named Dr. Chalice, which is a super good character. He's an alcoholic doctor. He pretty much stumbles across the fact that these Halloween masks they're selling are actually designed to kill all of the people that are wearing them on Halloween night during the commercial that plays. The fucking 8 more days till Halloween, that shit.
Happy, happy Halloween, 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 happy, happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock. Happy, happy Halloween, 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 happy, happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
But he stumbles across that they're using some sort of stone to manipulate these masks to make bugs crawl out of the fucking face and kill the people that are wearing them. So he tries to shut it all down. The end of the movie, I mean, you can kind of interpret it how you will, but the end of this movie pretty much kills like a huge population, like a huge part of the population, because he's sitting in the chair, or he's calling the TV companies, and he's like, get the commercial off the TV, it's gonna kill people, get it off of there. And the movie just ends when he's like, get it off the TV, and then it just ends. And you're interpreting like, did the TV station get it off in time before half of the fucking population died, or did half the population die first?
Take off the third channel, it's still running. Stop it, please, for God's sake, please stop it. There's no more time. You've got to, please, stop it now, turn it off, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it!
So that's what's pretty badass about the end of this movie. They kind of leave it up to your interpretation. They didn't really do much with this property afterwards. This is kind of just like a one-shot movie, but if you watch it as Halloween without Michael Myers, you're gonna be disappointed. But if you just go into it thinking this is its own, Season of the Witch, it's its own Halloween movie, it's badass. I think you'd enjoy it. It's a pretty good watch. I was in that class at first. I was like, fuck that movie, no Michael, probably not good. But over the past few years, it's definitely one that I enjoy watching. Almost every year. Sometimes I skip past it just because, like, Michael is fucking badass, of course, but this one is still a good movie on its own, even, having nothing to do with Michael Myers or Laurie Strode. But I will have to throw it up here in the It's Aight category. For me personally, It's Aight, I don't think it's fire. It's definitely not the greatest, but it's definitely not an ass or a dog shit movie to me. It's pretty good. I definitely would watch it, But overall, this is my ranking. In the GOAT category, we're going to have Halloween 1 and 2. In the Fire category, we have H2O, Halloween 2018, Halloween 4, and Halloween Kills. In the It's Aight category, we're going to have Halloween 5 and Halloween 6, and also Halloween 3. In the Ass category, we're going to have Rob Zombie's Halloween. And in the straight dog shit category, we're going to have Halloween Resurrection and Rob Zombie's H2. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is my personal ranking. Let me know down below, if you have any other ideas you want me to rank, talk about, horror movies, anything like that, just let me know. I'm probably going to stay on some sort of train like this for a little while. I enjoy making these kind of videos, talking about movies and things, so not too sure what the next one will be yet, but it'll hopefully be up within about a week or so from this one being out. But I hope you did enjoy watching this, and I will see you in the next fucking video. Have a good one.